Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Welcome to today's episode. I am thrilled and excited to introduce you to Melanie Cohen. She is a weight loss and clutter coach. So I'm excited to talk to her more and learn more about that. So welcome to the show, Melanie.
Thank you, Jeanne. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So how did you become, and what is we know what a weight loss coach is, but maybe not so much of a clutter coach. So tell me how that kind of came to be and how those work together.
So there's like a really long answer, so I'll make it like super quick. I was a competitive athlete growing up, like high level training 4 or 5 hours a day and in great shape. And when I quit, I gained weight. I gained a lot of weight in college, meeting my husband, my daughters, and started a weight loss journey at 30. That helped me lose over 60 pounds and became a weight loss coach for a well-known company. And after 19 years and 11 months, I said, I want more. I want to do more. Because I really am done with diet mentality. You know, weight loss isn't calories in and calories out. It's all the mindset stuff. And so I really wanted to take a deep dive into, if we already know all the things that we're, quote unquote, supposed to do, then why are we not doing those things? While all of this was happening, I was apprenticing with a friend's business. I just wanted to see a woman in business in action. She owns an organizing business. And I went out on a move project with her, and I was sitting on the kitchen floor. I was put in charge of the spices. Sounds easy. But there were cases, and there were 5 jars of sesame seeds, and there were 5 jars of marjoram, things we don't use very often. And I just sat on the floor, and like this huge light bulb went off over my head. At one time, someone had recommended a book to me called Does This Clutter Make My Butt Look Fat? I read it and it was very meaningful to me. It was still very diety in approach, but talked about the relationship between weight and clutter. And I left that project and I spent 6 months researching the relationship between weight and clutter in all forms, not just like physical clutter, but digital clutter, calendar clutter, social media clutter, 24-hour news cycle clutter, and what's worst, the mental clutter, and created a program called Design Your Healthy Life Strategy, where I help predominantly middle-aged women lose weight and get healthy by removing the physical and mental clutter in their lives. So that was the path, if you will.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what are the specific things that match with regards to weight loss and clutter?
First of all, clutter in physical form usually creates mental clutter. Mental clutter creates more physical clutter because we can become less capable of cleaning it up around us. And so for me, the number one was when I am feeling uncomfortable, like an extreme emotion, whether it's like high anxiety, anger, frustration, or a real low emotion, I am looking to feel better. I'm looking for comfort. And for me, the answer was always food. And so clutter creates stress. And so I know I'm not the only one out there that has reached for a bag of cookies when stressed. And so if you want to get really specific to food, if a kitchen is cluttered, there's no space to like really operate. And specifically, like I know prepping and cleaning, prepping, chopping, like fruits and vegetables are like the things that take up the most space on my kitchen counter. And as we were talking earlier, I live in New York City. We are not known for big kitchens. So like we have to make them work. And so if there's a ton of stuff on the counter, whether it's the catch-all of kids' homework or mail, too many appliances that we don't use on a regular basis out on the counter can really prevent us from leaning into healthier eating patterns.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Let's talk about some of your clients that you've worked with. Tell me maybe some most challenging or most exciting or most fulfilling experiences with your clients.
So many. I will address one from when I was with my old company, and it's almost 20 years ago. but a gentleman lost over 200 pounds. And he was just such an inspiration to the entire room and really nice guy, like the person that like everyone loved spending time with. And he used to share lots of stories about how he made things work. And he was like the president of the Dart Club in New York City, or one of the Dart clubs in New York City. So he was in bars like every night, which, like, oh my God, how do you manage it? And he had gotten in the habit of taking a Sharpie and writing on his arm like hash marks for beers. Like he wasn't allowed to have more than 2 beers a night. And it was a story he told, and I think we all were like, yeah, yeah, it's a fun story. He unfortunately passed away, and we went to a memorial at like one of the favorite bars. And one of his buddies was sharing the story about like, oh, that crazy guy and his hash marks on his arm to count the beers. And it was just that moment where I was like, oh, it wasn't just his experience, it was a shared experience, meaning that there were people there who were supporting him on this journey. And so often we feel so alone when it comes to our weight loss or clutter journeys. It's just something that's like very, it's just like a warm feelings come out of that. If we're going to talk more currently, I have to say that one of the other reasons I got into this is because both of my parents have issues with clutter, and they're divorced and live in separate states. And I'm an only child. And so I'm very overwhelmed by their stuff and overwhelmed by what comes in the future as we all continue to age, and needs that we all have. And in my research, I've really found, like no one is a hoarder because they dreamed of that one day. Like no one is choosing that lifestyle. Predominantly people who have high levels of clutter, high levels of stuff, um, typically come to that by way of trauma earlier in life or recent trauma, and OCD, which sounds completely counterintuitive. Someone who is OCD should have a perfect space, but in reality, someone who has OCD thinks that things should be done a certain way and should be done all at once. And if we think we're going to tackle any of these things all at once, all in one day, it's never going to happen. And then, like, we keep putting it off. I'll wait until I have the time to do it the way I want to do it. I'll keep putting it off. And then we become completely paralyzed. So for me, seeing both of my parents finally listen to me and finally take action are like the two best clients I have. They're just unpaid clients. And if I can share, because it was vocabulary that I used that I think finally got to them. And it's something that I say to all of my clients, whether the mess is theirs or the mess is their kids or the mess is their parents or all of the above, for so many of us in that sandwich generation right now. And that is, you have two choices. One is we clean all this up and we get you to a place where you can enjoy the rest of your life. And when you are gone, we get to immediately dive into honoring you and remembering you and eating your favorite foods or listening to your favorite music, like, just really being in the moment, and sharing your life with others. And so I have found that not only does that help my clients, but it helps them open a conversation up with their own parents.
Having lost between my husband and I all parents, and three of them within
Mm,
a short amount of time and in different countries, because my husband's English, so his parents were in England, and so,
mm, mhm.
yeah, there's a lot going on, and
Yeah.
I think we downsized my mom 3 times, and so each time she wasn't in a position to make the decisions on stuff,
Sure.
so.
Can I ask you a question? What about your husband's parents? Was it a lot of stuff for them also? I have a reason
um
for asking.
Actually, not as much. At the time, his mom already had dementia, and so we had her
Mm,
in an assisted living or a memory care. And his dad was brought up early in military, so he liked everything in its place. Having said
right.
that, the amount of photographs he found was absurd, 3 and 4 and
I
whatever. But
hear
he
you.
was pretty good about keeping tabs on things, but there was still, a lot to uncover.
One of the reasons I ask is because one of the things that we found is that this is quite uniquely an American epidemic and not so much in the rest of the world. And if you read all the statistics about clutter, we are the worst when it comes to the issues that it creates. Consumerization. When I talk to people from other countries, they don't even understand what I'm talking about because the concept of clutter is unfathomable to them. I do think some of the Western countries, there are more similarities, but yeah,
Yep. No, you're
it's
absolutely right.
interesting.
Plus, they have smaller
Mhm.
spaces. So, it's just small. Things are
Yeah,
small there, and there isn't a lot of room
yeah,
to pile
right.
a lot of things in. But that is
Yeah.
interesting, and I'm totally not surprised that we are the country that tends to hoard, shall we say.
Yes.
So if
Yeah.
someone is recognizing this, let's say in their own life, that they are
Mhm.
struggling with weight or with clutter or with both, probably typically, what's the first step that you would advise them to take to try and move toward a better lifestyle?
Right. If I can first say, I want to make sure that people understand that, just because I have a weight issue, I have clutter, because there are plenty, of us out there that, it's really only one of those is an issue. But I think it's so important to know where the clutter is coming from, like what the roots are. Like, was it trauma? Is it the other person you live with? Like your standards are a little different. And if I can also say, that women are like 66% more likely to suffer from the stress and anxiety of clutter than men are. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the men in our lives, but if we find that we're neater than our husbands, this is something to kind of be aware of. And I think, I love that you're recording on video because I can say, I can show people I am not a minimalist. I think a lot of people come to me for fear that I'm going to make them get rid of everything and they're going to have is whitewashed walls, with one, picture with one color on it. And the reality is that I love things. I love color. I love textures. I love things that are, like tactile in addition to what you can see. But everything in this world has energy. Animate or inanimate objects have energy. And what it means is really starting so simply. No one has to get rid of an entire set of bookshelves. You just need to get rid of one book. You don't have to get rid of all your clothes. You just need to release one item to start. And so one of the things that I like to do with my clients is a 30-day decluttering challenge. So if you wanted to, you can just do one item a day. At the end of the month, it's 30 items and it feels amazing. Or you can do it my way. And that is each day you release the amount of items as the day of the month. So day one thing, day three things, day 12 things, and build momentum as the month goes by. And at the end of the month, if you keep up with it, you get rid of like over 450 items. It's about finding a way, one, to make it simple, and two, to gain momentum. And so I think, and the same can apply to anything we do for weight loss, whether it's, on the first day I start exercising, I'll just walk around the block for 5 minutes and then it becomes 10 minutes, becomes a half hour, becomes a run, that everything is about gaining momentum by starting super ridiculously small.
I love that. But you're so right. You need to do that little bit every day. You need that
Yeah.
momentum to grow slowly. And I know none of us are patient.
We're not. That's how we ended up where we are, And it's really, I mean, like, I want to be fair. It's so difficult to step back and say, well, it's okay if I lose an ounce at a time. It's okay if the plate space gets clean one item at a time. But not to be cliche, but none of us gained the weight overnight. None of us created the mess overnight. So we have to be okay with it not happening overnight, going in the other direction.
Yeah, I love that. And I used to have a client who helped people with decluttering. And she would always tell me, when you start a project, no matter how big or small, don't pull out more than you can put back. In other words, don't approach an
Yeah.
entire room all at once. Like you said, pick a drawer, just
Hmm.
start somewhere small, make some forward movement, make a junk drawer or something better. And then now you've got a starting point. I'm the OCD person you were talking about earlier who wants to just blast the whole room, pull it all out, dust everything, clean everything, get rid of half of it. But realistically, I don't have that kind of time. So
the other thing is like while we were talking about like just, one item at a time or 30 items at a time, it can also just be the things like do the socks. Just do the socks. There's a hole, let them go. We don't darn socks anymore, like just let them go. And you know what? If it means you have mixed matched pairs, I'm all for it. Wear one with hearts with one with cats on it. I think it's cute, but starting simply can also mean tackling like items and like items that would be easier. Like how many of us really have to hang on to every single pair of socks we have? Right.
Nope. I love this.
Right.
This has been so helpful for me, Melanie, selfishly, but I'm sure for our audience as well. So tell me, what would be if someone in our audience recognizes that you could be the person to go to help them with their weight loss issue or their decluttering or both? What is the best way for them to reach out to you?
There are so many best ways. At the very least, my company is called Thoughtfully Coaching and use that everywhere. So you can email me at melanie@thoughtfullycoaching.com. You can go to my website, thoughtfullycoaching.com. I'm on all social media in variations of Melanie Cohen and Melanie Thoughtfully Coaching. Cohen, I'm all over there. I'm trying to spread the message. The thing is that people typically look for weight loss coaches or they look for clutter coaches. They're not looking for someone who's doing both because they don't know really that there are those of us who do both. There are not a lot of us out there. And why we would do it because of that link between weight and clutter is just not something that people are thinking about. So I'm just here to spread the message.
I love that. I love that. Last question for you is if you could
Yeah.
provide one tip to make the world a better place, what would that be?
I have to go with the whole concept of ridiculously simple, start with just one small step. There will be a day 30 days from now where you cannot believe you started with just one thing.
I love that. Melanie, this has been so fabulous. And I think for some of our listeners, possibly life-changing because like you said, they don't know people like you exist. So it's amazing. So thank you for doing what you do for the people who need it. And I will put all your details in the show notes. And thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.